You are still watching Millennium TV, your number one business channel. And this particular afternoon, we bring to you another exciting edition of Visionary Corner right here on Millennium TV. Remember that we are live on your Top Star Decoders, channel 95. Also live on our Facebook page, Millennium TV Zambia. I'm your host again, Doreen Kapamba, and I'm so much happy to bring you to another exciting edition as the adventure is getting more and more interesting this particular afternoon. We bring to you another extraordinary story coming up on Visionary Corner. With us this particular afternoon is Notulu Mwenda on Visionary Corner, a young horse rider who does competitive riding, something that I want to ensure that we touch some lives of some young people out there, something extraordinary. I believe it's going to be quite a lot we're going to hear from the youngster this particular afternoon in studio with us. Good afternoon, Notulu, and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
I'm so happy to have you in studio this particular afternoon, just to ensure that we get to hear more from what this is about. I can't wait to dive straight into the story, but even as we kickstart, just a hello to the viewers. I'm sure they would want to be
Hi guys.
as well. All right, getting right into it. Start by telling us a little bit about yourself and just a quick one from where all this is coming from, the background for you to love, the love for horses, the riding, the competition itself. Where is it starting from?
I would say it started from a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
My life has kind of always revolved around horses in general. I loved the animals since I was like really, really young.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say specifically it started when I was about 3 or 4.
Okay.
My parents decided one weekend that we're just going to go to Fringilla Farm,
Mm-hmm.
and there they had horses. Like they offered like horse riding.
Mm-hmm.
So at the age of 3, my parents put me on a horse,
Mm-hmm.
and I walked about 20 meters
Didn't you
up.
cry? Weren't
and
you scared?
No, walked about 20 meters up and 20 meters down, and that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of, I think, the setting stone where I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is something I really want to start.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, my parents were like, no, it's a very expensive sport. You know, right now we cannot let you ride horses. It's expensive, it's dangerous, it's time consuming.
Yeah.
They told me get into swimming.
Hmm.
So I did get into swimming for a bit. And then one Sunday afternoon, my dad told me, he said, what do you guys want to do this weekend, me and my brothers? And my first response was, I want to go and sit on a horse. I was about 10.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, no problem. So he got us all in the car. We went to this place called Trot Over.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat on a horse. My brothers also sat on a horse. And they decided this is not for them. They are not going to do it again. And I was like, no, this is something I want to do consistently. So I kept on going for these lessons. It was literally me on a pony. They would walk me in circles for like 20 minutes. And that was it. I wasn't really learning anything.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was running at the time. She was a runner.
Okay.
And she ran with this man named Richard.
Mm-hmm.
And once he invited her to a house to go for a run, she went to his house and the lady there had horses. So
Okay.
he asked, oh, whose horses are these? And he said, oh, it's my wife's horses.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, that's kind of where it really, really started and where I started to
now
get
you
serious.
can access at any time.
Yes.
Amazing. Just maybe to also get to know, you said when you were young you loved animals. Was it just animals in general, or just a little girl who loved horses, or you could watch any movies and you felt like I need to be on it?
No, it was animals in general at first. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would bring home cats from school,
Mm-hmm.
like from primary school. I had so many dogs. I just loved animals in general.
Mm-hmm.
But when I sat on a horse, that was like what was set in stone for me. This was like something I was really passionate about.
Amazing. And then mom introduces you to a friend who has horses, and now you are mostly there, you're doing it regularly. But did you start experiencing certain things like where you feel like I feel this is quite dangerous, or this is something that I can't continue with, because now you're exposed, now you are always there?
I mean, of course, the lady, her name is Veronica Shannon, she told my mom, I'm not sure about this, but I want to meet her.
Okay.
So we all sat down at the
trust
pantry.
Her with my horses?
Yeah. So we all sat down at the pantry in Leopards Hill, and she pulled out a contract. And on the contract, she basically said that, she's not responsible for anything that happens, which is justified because we are working with live animals. Okay. But she would really love to give me lessons. Okay. So there was a point in time where I had to sit and think, this is something serious. Yeah. This is not just all fun and games. It can get dangerous at some points, and I had to accept that. Mm-hmm. And my mom accepted it. She was like, okay, this is, if she really wants to do this, we can't keep her away from this. This is her dream. My dad, on the other hand, he was more like, let's put her into swimming. Swimming is dangerous. It's less dangerous. Nothing's going to go wrong in a swimming pool. And it's also so expensive. But he quickly got on board, and he was very, very happy to watch me start.
Amazing. And from there, the journey began.
It did.
Right. Can you just share with us some of your favorite things about this riding and competing? Because now from this contract, now you are there, you've been entrusted with the horses, and now the riding starts. Share with us the first time you are now in a competition where you managed now to compete, and just that feeling, the experience itself.
I wasn't ever planning on actually competing.
It was just for fun.
It was just for fun at first. And then my instructor, she told me, no, I can't teach you certain things anymore. You need to go to this man. His name was Phiri. And she got me into jumping. She kind of forced it out of me. I wasn't really going to jump. I just really enjoyed riding the horses. And from there, he really pushed me out of my comfort zone. He would put me on so many different horses. I mean, I was used to riding one horse once a week, and now I'm going to this new place. I'm riding 3 times a week, and I'm riding a different horse every week, every time I go and ride. And he would put me on the easiest horses to the most difficult, to the most dangerous. It was just anything I could sit on, he would just put me on the horse. And from there, I started to build trust and build a relationship with the horses. And I started to really get to understand what I was doing. And that's when my parents said, okay, if she wants to compete, she needs her own horse. Amazing. So they got me my first horse, Havana. She was a fantastic horse.
Did Dad jump on that time now?
My dad? Oh, yeah, he sat on Havana. He sat on my horse. He said, if I'm paying for the horse, I'm going to have to ride it. And he sat on
it. Now the support is coming.
Yeah, the support was there. And he immediately said, I'm never doing this again. And he got off my horse and he left my horse alone. And then from there, from me having my first horse and having to build a bond, building a relationship with her, because that was the most important part. It doesn't just happen that you get a horse and you go into competition. It doesn't work like that, because they're animals. They need to trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to do anything for you. So I got my first horse, and it was lots of groundwork. So it would be me standing on the ground and walking her around on a lead rope. It would be me taking her out to eat some grass and sitting with her and playing with her. And then when the competition started, I remember my first competition, I actually fell off because 3 days before that I was practicing and I fell off and I really, really hurt my arm. And I was so determined. I said, I'm going to do this competition. It's my first competition. And I went into the arena with a sleeve on my arm because it was so sore, and I fell off again. But it didn't stop me. I was I need to keep doing this till I get
passionate about it. Can you tell us about your favorite horse and what makes them really special?
Okay, they're all very different. I wouldn't say I have a favorite horse. But if you were really to push an answer out of me, it would be my first horse, Havana. Unfortunately, she did pass away, but she was really the key in my journey. I think she was the one that started everything for me. I would not have gotten to where I am today without that horse. She helped me with so much, and I really got to understand horses when I had my first horse, because there's so many more things I could do, It's not just getting on a horse, going there every day to ride. Some days you can't ride because it's raining or it's too hot. So I really had to grow a connection and a bond with her. And I had such a strong, trusting bond with her and relationship with her where I could ride with my eyes closed and I would be fine. I knew I was safe. There was not a doubt in my mind when I sat on that horse. And I think she would be my favorite just because of that relationship I had with her.
Wow, but does it take time to really create this bond?
It does. It takes a lot of time. I mean, I think I had Havana for a very short period of time. It was, I think, about 3 years. And in that 3 years, the first year I was in South Africa for school, so I was always back and forth. I would be here for a month every 3 months, so it was very difficult. But whenever I was home, I would spend all my time at the stables. Like, my dad would even get upset. He's like, Notulu's never home. She's always at the stables. And it would be from me grooming her. And it took so long for me to grow that bond with her because she was also a girl. Girls are much harder to bond with than the male horses. The male horses are very, very friendly, usually off the bat. But the females, they need to build a stronger relationship with you.
But Notulu, you did mention that even when you are getting into your competition and the practice before the day you are going to compete, you fell. Was that a time where it clicked to your mind to say, I think this can be it. I need to give up?
No, I had fallen off many times before that. In horse riding, we have this rule where it's like, you need to fall off 7 times before you become a horse rider.
Oh.
That's the rule. So it was like every single time I fell off till I got to 7, I was like, okay, I'm almost there, So excited. But no, it didn't. It never came across my mind where it's like, this is something I want to stop. Even if I had the worst fall or I had the worst moment in the arena where I'm breaking down in tears because I didn't win or something, there was never a moment that I felt like this is not something I ever want to do again.
And then mom and dad? How are they receiving such experiences?
My mom was always very nervous. Whenever I'd go into the arena, she'd just freak out. She was always so nervous. She didn't want me to get hurt. My dad, he would never really come to competitions. He came in the beginning to show his support, but then he was like, okay, this is really not for me. But my mom had to be there, and she was always very nervous, very worried. But she also knew that she cannot hold me back from my dream. Said if I don't let her do this, she's going to hate me forever. So she has to do it, and I just have to go along with it.
To support. What's been your most exciting or memorable experience competing in our horse shows?
It would have to be Algeria. We went for the African Nations Cup as a team, representing the country, and I'd say that experience on its own was very memorable and very exciting. I mean, being able to travel and represent your country is such an accomplishment, and I mean, we got to experience a different culture, we got to see different things. Not only that, but it made us so grateful to have what we have here in Zambia, because in Algeria, they don't have blue skies and green grass. It's a desert, so the conditions were very different. And, we had to be so grateful to be like, here in Zambia, we have so much space. Our horses have green grass, there's blue skies, the sun is out, we have so much space. As well, there's less space because it's a small country. There's a lot of industrialization going on. So there's not enough space really for horses to spend all day, every day out in a paddock, which is about maybe 60, 80 meters or 100 meters wide. They don't have that kind of privilege. So it was we were all so grateful. And I'd say that was the most exciting and memorable because it was just very different.
Was that the first trip you had for your first competition, like having it outside?
No, because I was in South Africa, like I said previously, for school. I was riding there and I was competing there. Those competitions were insane. I mean, it really opened the horizon for me. I mean, in one class, let's say I'm jumping the 80 centimeter class on the horse there, Swan, there were maybe 1,000, 2,000 people all going up against me, whereas here it's not the same. Here maybe we have 80 riders in the class, so it was very, very different, and I really needed that exposure because I feel like that also prepared me for Algeria, where I was like, it's not just 80 riders in this class. I'm looking at people from so many different countries, different styles of riding, different techniques. I need to do what I can to win.
But how was the competition? How was your experience?
The first couple of days, it was really me getting to know my horse, and it was very shocking. I mean, we couldn't communicate as well with the people there because everyone spoke French and we speak English. It was very difficult to communicate. But the first couple of days was really me just getting to know my horse. I would groom my horse, I would clean my horse, I would give my horse a treat, feed it, really look after the horse just to get to understand how the horse works before I even sat on the horse. I think that is the most important thing with riding. You don't just walk somewhere, get on a horse and get going. You need to know what you are about to get into. You need to know the horse in and out.
Takes a lot.
It does. It takes
well, can you walk us through your typical day at the stables and what you do to prepare for competitions?
Every day is different. I don't ride every day. Mainly because, the weather is not always on my side, or sometimes my horse might be lame, or there's always something. But typically, I'm very privileged. I get to have people to help me out at the stables. So typically, I'd call my groom and I'd ask him to bring in the horses from the paddock and to start getting them ready so that when I get there, I can just get on and get going. So I get there, I give my horse a carrot before I ride always. And then I get on my horse, my first horse. It depends on which horse I'm riding first and what's my program. I always take the horses on a 20-minute walk before I ride because they need to stretch before you even ask them to do anything, And I think it's also nice for them to get to see the scenery and get to have a bit of fun before we get into work. And then we go into an arena and I ride for about 20 to 45 minutes, depending on what the horse needs. I mean, they're not machines. So if one day I get there and my horse is like, I don't want to do this. Maybe they had a bad night's sleep or they're just a bit irritated. If they decide they're not going to do this, I don't put pressure on. I just take pressure off and I kind of let them lead. I say, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to go on another walk? Do you just want to be groomed? Do you want to go grazing? It really just depends on what the horses are willing to give you in a session.
Okay. Well, sorry to take you back to Algeria, the competition that you had. Was there any encounter that made you feel like this is getting hard? I need to take a break.
Yes, it was. It was very, very emotional. I mean, it was a very big shock. So at Algeria, it was... The competition on its own was okay. It was just very, very shocking. And it was like, this is a new environment. I've never ridden in this country. Everyone's riding differently. So is anyone going to judge me? It was very, very hard. But then I had to think, you know what? It's just me and it's my horse. And that's all that matters. And I pushed through the competition. And I remember on the last day, which was the most important day of the competition, my horse the previous days wasn't really performing. I'd get maybe 4 penalties, 8 penalties. I think once I actually got 16 penalties in a round because my horse was knocking the jumps. She was quite exhausted. And I kind of thought to myself, I know this horse might not do this for me and I can't expect the horse to do this for me just because I'm here to ride and I want to win. So it was a moment where we all sat in our hotel room as a team and we kind of spoke about it and spoke about the challenges we faced, especially in Algeria, which was we're in a new place, we're in a new town, we don't know anything. We don't know these horses. That was the biggest thing. These are not our horses. We don't know how they work. We don't know how they think. Nothing.
Strange moment.
And we can't demand from them what we can ask our horses at home, because our horses here would do so much more for us than those horses because they've never met us. And we all sat down as a team and we thought, how can we make this work, guys? And I remember our coach woke us up at 5 a.m. She would tell us, you guys are getting on the bus now, we're going to the stables. And we'd spend the whole day at the stables. I mean, other teams would go there for an hour to ride and then go back to the hotel. But our coach was so strict on, you guys need to be there for your horses. You need to look after your own horses and you guys really need to create that connection before you get on the horse. It's so important. So we started with that. And I remember there was a point where I sat on my horse and my horse just really wasn't having it with me. Her name was Emerald. And she was just really throwing a fit. I mean, every 2 steps she was trying to get me off her back. And I remember talking to my instructor and I said, this horse is not going to do this for me. I have no faith. I have no hope. And she goes, no, it's a very good horse. She's got so much potential. And I told her, I don't need potential. I need a horse that can do it for me now because this is a big competition. I can't be sitting on a horse that will take me 3 months to get to where I want to be, And she told me, trust me, and you guys need to trust me. I'm the coach. They sent me here for a reason. Just if you build a connection with these horses, they'll do anything for you. So we kind of fell back on that. And the day before the serious competition, I was jumping my round. And I got 16 penalties and I was so upset and I was like, tomorrow's just not going to happen. And I think that's when my coach also, she sat me down and she said, maybe we don't do tomorrow. Your horse is tired. You also are emotionally finished, you're drained.
Yeah.
But then in my head, I also thought, my mom has spent so much. My mom has sacrificed so much for me to get to this point. I cannot let my mother down.
Yeah.
And also my instructor back home, she's pushed me out of my comfort zone. And she prepared me for this moment. So how can I just take a step back? And I remember saying, no, I'm going to do the competition tomorrow. And the next day came, we all went and we all did our rounds. I remember the first person in was my friend Megan. She went in and she got eliminated. So she left the arena and she was like, guys, this is not gonna...
Because of the horse as well?
Because of the horse couldn't do it. I mean, she was asking, but she also kind of expected, she said, if the horse doesn't do it for me, that's okay. Like, I'm not going to be upset about it, The horse doesn't know me. So she went in, she got eliminated, she walked out. The next person in fell off, jump number 2. So now we've got 2 people that have been eliminated. So now it's me and my friend Jade.
How was that making you feel? Looking at your friends.
We had... So the rule there was we needed 3 people to just get through the course. Okay. Whether you have 20 penalties or more, you just needed to go from jump number 1 till the last jump, and we get points towards. Okay. But if you get eliminated, we get no points. Now, we needed 3 people to bring us points. Out of the 4, we needed 3 people. So we were very confident that, guys, if we're 4 riders, come on, we're all talented. Like, we could get those points from 3 people. So when the first 2 people were eliminated, we already knew we're not winning, because it's like, we've got 1 person short. We cannot win this thing. Yeah, but I remember thinking to myself, you know what? We're here to have fun. At this point, it's not even competitive anymore. And that's what changed it. Because the other days I was so competitive, and I was making mistakes. Yeah. And this day I kind of was just like, you know what? Whatever. We've already lost. We might as well just relax now and just go in there for fun. Yeah. And my friend Jade went in before me. She got, I think, 8 penalties or so, or I'm not really sure. She got quite a number of penalties. She walked out. At least she said, at least I finished the course, guys. This was a very good experience. And I walked in, and it was just like, I'm the last rider in for Team Zambia. That I'm not really expecting anything. Yeah. And shockingly, that was the only day of the competition when I got a clear round. And I remember I was going up to my first jump. I was talking to my horse. The whole course, I was having a conversation with my horse. Said, okay, you can do this. Okay, let's breathe. Okay, let's count 1, 2, 3, up. Like, I was really communicating and speaking to my horse. And there was a jump that I remember it was meant to be a straight line, but the second part of the jump was slightly tilted. So a lot of people were riding it straight, and they were knocking the second part of the combination. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to come in at an angle. And everyone knocked that line. Like, I remember there was, not everyone from the whole competition, but multiple people made a mistake over that line. And I remember just telling my horse, just please do this for me, dude. Like, I said, everything's on the line. I cannot disappoint my mother. Like, let's do this. And the horse did it for me. And I went over the last jump, and I just heard my whole team screaming. Wow. Like, we were so happy because that was the only day I got a clear round, like amazing. The only day, and it was the day that counted. So I called my mom right after, and I was like, Mom, I did it. She's like, you got a clear round? I said, I got a clear round. Amazing. I didn't think the horse could do it. She says, Notulu, you see what happens when you just relax. Yeah. When you're nervous, the horse isn't going to do anything for you.
So you managed to communicate.
I did.
What are some of your short-term and long-term goals in the equestrian world?
My short-term goals would be really taking a step back and building a relationship with my horses on a deeper level. I mean, I do have a relationship with them. I've had one of my horses for like 2 years, and I've 2-3 years, and I've had the other one for maybe 4 years. So I do have a relationship with them, but like I said before, everything starts on the ground. So I really want to take a step back and just start again, really. Because I did have quite a big setback last year and the year before on one of my horses. In the competition, she slipped and she hurt herself. And she was trotting fine. She wasn't lame or anything. But as a rider, I know my horse. And I said, there's something wrong with my horse. And everyone told me, vet checks came back clear. There was nothing wrong with her, like physically on paper. And I said, there's something definitely wrong with my horse because she's not performing. And my one horse, she will go over the moon for me. So I said, she's not performing. There's something wrong. Everyone was telling me it's in my head. And then we called out the osteopath, and she found she had a popped pelvis. So she straightened her out, and she was fine. And then again, last year, something happened somewhere along the lines. It was last year, maybe June. My horse wasn't performing. And I thought to myself, what do I need to do? I gave her like about 6 months off, no riding. I did not sit on her for 6 months. I thought maybe she just needs a break.
Yeah.
And then this year they got their teeth done, and the vet told me she's got a really bad cracked tooth, so that probably affected her because it creates a lot of pain. Once we took that tooth out, it's like I got my horse back. She's performing again. So next year, that's kind of my short-term goal with her, where it's like, I just really want to get her back to where she was. She was in the meter 20s, and now I'm kind of wanting to push her for the meter 20, maybe meter 35. Amazing. And on my other horse, he's only been recently backed, so it's also kind of a big push. It's a very big push, but I'm trying to get him into the 130, 140s next year. Maybe push higher if he will. But he jumps at home, he'll jump a good 120 course with me and be good. But in competition, he gets stage fright. So he does like 80 and he messes up. So it's really just getting over that boundary. Yeah. Long-term goals, as it's every athlete's dream, is Olympics, working towards that. And every day is a new day and just pushing harder and harder each day to get to that.
Amazing. And do you hope to compete in bigger shows or events in the future?
I do. Next year we've got the LGC Open, we've got the Lusaka Derby, and we've got the World Jumping Challenges. Okay. So those are kind of the competitions I'm really pushing for, because they're the ones that count towards our points on the Zanif website. So yes, I am hoping even bigger competitions would probably be traveling again internationally, representing the country and just carrying on the name.
But you can actually agree to say it's the love that you have for animals that has actually been the secret all along. Yes, the talent plus the love for animals, because at the end of the day, it looks like it's not just about you, but also the horses.
It's never about us, and it's never the horse's fault. That is a very important lesson, especially to younger riders. It is never the horse's fault. It is always your fault. It's your responsibility as a rider to get things done and get things done correctly. Yeah. If your horse isn't performing, you need to look at yourself. If the horse gets a clear vet check, it's a you problem. It's not the horse's fault. It's never their fault. 9 out of 10 times, And I'd say, it's all comes down to passion and love for the animal, and more than anything, my competitiveness. That's the biggest lesson you've learned, right? It is. I've had to sacrifice so much for my horses in terms of my own competitiveness. You need to be able, as much as you can be competitive, you need to be able to walk into a very important competition and your horse is not performing, walk out, give the horse a pat on the shoulder and say, you've done a good job, it was my fault. You need to be able to take that loss and not blame it on your horse. You need to walk out with grace and give your horse a carrot and say, you know what, today wasn't a good day for you or for me, but maybe tomorrow will be a better day. You can never get angry and say, you know what, my horse wasn't performing and he did ABCD or she did ABCD, because it's never their fault. It's always your responsibility.
Can you tell us a little bit about your horse's personality and traits?
So currently I have 2 horses. I have Bodenhausen Centaurus and Assegai Cleo. Centaurus is a Namibian warm blood and Cleo is a South African warm blood, both imports. Centaurus is a gentle giant. He's my biggest horse. He's a very, very big horse, but he's got the sweetest soul. Like sometimes my mom and I will joke around and say he's like a puppy, He'll play with our dogs, He's this massive horse and he'll just play with the dogs. He's so sweet, so kind. It's actually insane. Like, he's got the sweetest soul on the planet and he likes to be in his comfort zone. I think that's one of his quirks. He loves to be in his comfort zone. I mean, my 2 horses, Cleo and Centaurus, they're in a paddock together during the day. Cleo will always jump out and go in and walk around and see what's new, She's very adventurous. Whereas Centaurus, he likes to stay in the paddock. He likes to be within his comfort zone. He doesn't like doing anything you don't ask him to do. He's like a baby. Cleo, she's a hardcore woman. That's kind of how we think of her. She is very sassy and bossy as well. She loves her own space. I mean, in the stable, we go every night to go and see my horses. Even if I'm not riding, I still make an effort to go and spend time with them. She's in her stable, and some days she'll take a carrot from me, but she does not want to be touched. She'll take her treat and just walk back in the stable. But if I try and touch her, she'll snap at me, she'll bite me or something. And I just laugh at it. I'm like, you know what? She's a girl. She wants her space today. Yeah.
How late should be.
But she also loves. Why I say she's so strong is she loves doing everything on her own. And I haven't taught her really to do everything on her own. I always help my horses if anything, but in competition specifically. on that horse, I just sit. I don't pull her, I don't kick her, I just sit and I point her at the jump and she does what she needs to do. The second I get involved where I like try and hold her more steady or I try and do something, she won't perform. She'll make a mistake. She hates when I get involved. She likes to do everything on her own. Whereas my other horse, you need to hold his hand through everything. I mean, even just walking in a straight line and be like, it's okay, you can do it. Like, come on, you know. He's the bigger one, but the more like shy one. But that also boils down to the way they were raised. I mean, Cleo was pampered since she was a baby. Whereas Centaurus was born on an 80 kilometer by 80 kilometer farm. He was raised as a wild horse. He didn't get fed. They didn't do his shoes. He had to run 80 Ks to get his shoes filed, like his feet filed, and he had to find food. And he was on this 80K by 80K farm with lions, cheetahs, hyenas, you know, all sorts of wild animals, buffaloes, you know, no one knows what was there, but it was fight or flight. He always had to run away from danger, you know, so boiling that down to like where he is now, he does need to be like looked after and baby to say it's okay to do this, you know, you don't need to panic, everything's fine. Whereas Cleo, you kind of need to be like, come on dude, let's do this today. Are we gonna do it, are we not gonna do it? And she'll be like, no.
Overall, what do you think is the most important part of taking care of horses?
There's a lot that goes into taking care of them, but it's still like you need to feed them, you need to keep up with veterinary maintenance as well, getting their shoes done, the osteopathy, the physiotherapy. There's a lot that goes into looking after them, but it still comes down to like compassion and care for the horses, because if you don't love them, you're not going to do everything for them, you know, and they need so much more than just like physical attention of, you know, the groom cleans them and then the vet comes out. They need to know that you're there. It's a partnership, you know, it's a harmonious partnership. It's not like I'm moving against my horse, I'm moving with my horse, you know? So it all boils down to really compassion and care, because if you don't care about them, they're not going to do anything for you.
Can you share with us some tips or advice for other young riders out there on how to build a strong partnership with their horse as well?
It all starts from groundwork. Groundwork is very important. You know, you don't just ask your mom or your dad for a horse, you get a horse and you get on and you ride. It doesn't start from there. And this is me speaking from experience. You need to take a step back. You need to look after your horses. One of the things I recommend is taking your horses out on like a lead rope and letting them graze while you are there. Not just putting them in a paddock. You sit next to your horse. You groom your own horse, you know. We're very privileged to be able to afford grooms in Zambia. But it doesn't start from there. You need to be able to do everything on your own before you even ask someone else to do it for you. You need to build a partnership. You need to build a bond. It's very, very important. There's a word, it's called a centaur. It means half man, half horse. That it's a very ancient word, but it kind of boils down to that. You need to think it's half and half. You know, you're not just demanding. It's not that kind of relationship. That is before you even think about competition. That's before you even think about getting on their back. You know, you need to get them to trust you. It's that wish to be trusted and to trust back. You really, really need to go back to that connection, and you need to learn a lot about the animal before you even think about getting on the horses. And I mean, you also need to be very brave, because you need to remember they can't speak. They're not humans. So if they're feeling something, they cannot communicate it to you. And in some situations, it can get quite dangerous, because if you don't take the hint that they give you, which is maybe them like not wanting to move forward when you ask them to move forward, you build up pressure, and they have to kind of explode to tell you, I can't do this today. And that's where it gets quite dangerous. So you need to know your horse in and out. You need to be brave. You need to be able to say, it's okay, maybe tomorrow. I can't tell you the amount of times I have sat on a horse. It's maybe a big competition. I've walked in and my horse just said, I'm not doing this for you. And I've had to be like, you know what, it's fine. Okay. And I walk out, I give the horse a pat on the shoulder, even if I'm so upset. And I give the horse a carrot, take the horse back to the stable, hose down their legs, and really pamper them, because you tried. You didn't need to walk into that arena for me. You still walked into the arena for me. So it's very, very important, especially for young riders, to understand that everything starts on the ground. everything starts from the little things. It doesn't just happen that one day you wake up and you're competing for the country or you're jumping the bigger classes. And I can't tell you, this is not just me. Every other rider that young riders might speak to that are maybe in the same place as I am or even higher will tell you the same thing. It all starts from the ground, from the basics.
And any other tips, just personal stuff that you also do that helps you walk into these competitions and make it?
I always tell myself before I walk into the arena, okay, this is quite funny, but I say, oh shoot, here we go again, you know? But it's kind of, you need to motivate yourself because no one else is. You're not there for anyone else but yourself. Don't think about what other people are doing. Don't think about, oh my goodness, I need to win. Take all that pressure off. Go in there with a clear mind and just think, oh, we're just having fun. Because when you think so like freely and lightly, your body loosens. And when I tell you horses can feel everything, I mean everything. They can feel your heartbeat. Through tack and through saddles and through all my equipment, they can feel my heartbeat. I don't even need to pull my horse right or left when I'm riding. I can just look one direction and the horse moves that direction. They are so sensitive. So when you go in there nervous and afraid of the jumps or afraid of your dressage test or something, your horse is going to be like, oh my goodness, what are we scared about? So they're also not going to perform because they're listening to your body. Which is, if you have a very raised heartbeat, they can feel that. They're like, oh my goodness, what are we scared of? So you need to go in there so relaxed and think nothing can happen, you know? It's fine. I trust my horse. My horse trusts me. Let's do it, you know? And you have to just be strong. It's very important to be strong. And I think also the most important lesson I've learned is that when I fall off or when something happens to me, like recently I got a concussion falling off my horse, Cleo, and then I fell off, like, I didn't listen to my doctor, which you should listen to your doctor, but I fell off another like 3 weeks after. I wasn't supposed to ride for 6 months. The doctor said, you're not riding for 6 months, and I said, that's not happening.
I'm going back.
I said, I'm going back and I'm getting on my horse. Like, no one's going to stop me. And my mom was like, you're not sitting on a horse. And I remember like 4 days after I hit my head so bad. Like, it was a very bad concussion. Could not remember the day it was, the time it was, where I was, why I was wearing the clothes I was wearing. It was so confusing. 4 days later, I get on my horse behind my mom's back and I took my horse for a walk. I took the same horse that threw me off. I took her on a walk. I gave her a carrot and I said, you looked after me, because that day she looked after me. She did not look at anything. She just walked and I trusted her. And I told my mom, oh, I sat on a horse, and she shouted at me. She said, you need to listen to your doctor. But it's the most important lesson is to be brave. You know, even at times when you don't want to be brave, you know, you can have a really bad accident. Like, you can fall off and break both your legs, both your arms. And you cannot say, oh my goodness, I never want to sit on a horse again. You know, you need to be brave to be like, maybe it was my mistake. Maybe something happened. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe something bit my horse. Like, I need to get back on. You owe them that much, you know? After everything, you owe them that much compassion to be like, it's okay. We can do this again. But well, even as you are becoming this person that is inspiring people that are actually getting to look up to this amazing story, this love for horses, the trust and just the passion you have for horses, just also hear from you if you can tell us also the people that you also look up to, those that inspire you, the role models. Okay, one of my role models would be Edwina Tops Alexander. She is an Olympian. She's won many gold medals, but she's very strong. She's very brave. She gets on and she goes. I mean, watching her ride is so like emotional because you can really see the connection, the bond she has with the horses. Another rider would be Mavis Spence, because she's a woman of color, and the thing with the sport in general, it's a very white dominated sport, whether it's here in Zambia or it's in South Africa. It's just a very white dominated sport. So Mavis Spence is a woman of color, and seeing her being able to achieve all her goals is very inspirational, and it shows me that you can do it. Anyone can do it. You know, it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter where you come from, but as long as you work hard enough, you can go ahead and you can do it. And she's winning and she's competing in the big classes on fantastic horses, you know, horses that she doesn't own. So she's also sponsored with these horses, and it's like, it's insane, you know. So I really look up to her. She's a very fantastic rider.
Other than that, how did you manage to build all this together? You know, the relationship, the love, understanding the horses, because you're just a little girl, and 10 years you get to read. But how was that, experience of building that, understanding horses even better?
It was kind of forced on me because in the very beginning, my mom always told me, I'm never going to buy you a horse that can just do it for you. You need to make your horse do it for you.
Okay.
So she would buy me she would never buy me a schoolmaster, basically.
Okay.
She would buy me the horse that's maybe either very young and very inexperienced. Okay. So I need to teach the horse. Oh. But how could I teach the horse if I also knew nothing, you know? So I was this little girl, got her first horse that hadn't been ridden for months because the owner had left the country. And I was stuck with her, and I just thought, we need to make this work. We need to grow together. And I was very, very confused, and I made so many mistakes, but I had people there to help me, and it's very, very important to have people there. You cannot do it on your own. Yeah. You can't. I mean, throughout my riding, I've had quite a few instructors. I've had my first coach, Veronica Shannon. She's still my coach to this day. I love her. She's still coaching and helping me. And then from Veronica Shannon, I went to Phiri. He's the one that really started it with the jumping. He's the one that pushed me to be competitive. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, you know? And then from Phiri, I moved on to Zara Nicole, and my instructor to this day, Natascha. Zara trained me for Algeria. She got me prepared. But Natascha is my jumping coach overall. She is so amazing. But she really pushes me out of my comfort zone, and you need someone like that because, you know, if you don't have a coach next to you telling you to do A, B, C, D, you're not going to do it on your own. You know, some days I walk into the arena and we're about to jump and we warm up and the jumps go up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I'm panicking. And she shouts at me. She told me, like, get over yourself, you're going to do this. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. And we argue sometimes. And she shouts at me. She screams at me. You know, just like a mother. She forces me. She says, your horse can do it. What's wrong with you? You know, take the negative energy out of your mind and go and jump. Okay. And every time she's done that, I have accomplished something. You know, it always came from someone else, realistically.
Are there some upcoming events that you're also looking forward to that or maybe excited about?
It would probably be the World Jumping Challenge next year. Okay. I really want to put myself on the map again. So I need to really get my points up, and I really need to push my horses. And my horses, I hope they do it for me. I mean, I have a lot of hope and faith in them, and I trust them with my life. So they would do it for me. I'm not really scared or worried or concerned about it.
What advice would you give to other young girls who are actually interested in getting started with horse riding as well?
You need to sit back. You need to think. You need to tell yourself, am I willing to put my life on the line? You need to speak to your parents about it because it is an animal. You don't know what can happen. It's a very, very beautiful sport, but everything comes with sacrifice, you know. Social life, parties, all of these things. They're not really gonna take you far in the sport, you know. Can't tell you the amount of times again that my friends will be like, oh, can we come out for lunch? And I'm like, guys, I'm on my horses. Ooh. The next day, same thing. Like, you really need to sacrifice. I mean, nothing goes without hard work and dedication. And you need to put aside your social life. You need to put aside the parties and the boys and the drama. You really just need to get on and just focus on your horse because horses will save you in any situation. I mean, when I was at my most down, when I lost my first horse, Havana, I really leaned on my horse Cleo at the time, and she helped me so much. She made me feel so free and so lighthearted. She was really there for me while I was grieving. So you really need to put everything aside. You need to focus on what you want to do. You need to be hardworking. You also need to be able to take risk. You know, you don't always have to pick the safe option. I mean, if you want to win, you're going to sometimes need to be risky with it. I mean, I was in a jump off for, I think, 120 on Cleo maybe 2 years ago. And there was a combination. The jumps were like this. And there was a jump in between here. And I kind of figured I need to take off time because I need to go faster. But I thought, if I go around this jump that's in my way, I'm giving myself another 3 seconds. So over 120, I jumped and I turned as hard as I could and went over the next jump. That on its own was dangerous. Jumping on grass, the ground is slippery. My horse could slip. I could have broken my collarbone, could have broken my leg. Like, no one knows what could have happened, but I had to take that risk to win. So you need to take risks. You need to be prepared, because it's not always risk and award, or reward. You know, like, you really need to be able to just suck it up and get going.
But is there anything else you'd also like to share with our audience about your experience as a young equestrian?
It was difficult. Nothing was easy. And it's still not easy to this day. Everything is difficult. No one is going to push you if you don't push yourself. If you don't believe you can do it, then why should other people believe in you? So it was always a challenge since the day I sat on a horse till today. It's always a challenge, but you need to really push yourself
to keep going.
At times I wasn't. At times I really doubted what I was doing. I never thought about quitting, but I really doubted myself, and I thought, I'm never gonna get there, you know? And it makes you very sad, and sometimes you might cry and stuff, but you need to push out of it, because you need to remember you have a responsibility of looking after your animal. And I think that's also what got me to where I am. It's realizing that this is not only about me, it's about my horse. You know, if I stop riding, then what's going to happen to my horse, you know?
Well, even as we come to the end, would like to also just get to have you tell the viewers out there how they can stay updated with the latest equestrian adventures.
Okay, on my Instagram, you can follow me on notulu.mwenda.eqzm. That's where you'll probably be getting the more professional side of things, my day-to-day riding, my progress. And then I'm on TikTok with actually a group of the riders that I was in Algeria with, and it's Hit the Nene on TikTok. That's more where you see like our fun side and like how fun it is to be a rider, you know, having so many friends and spending time with your horses and, you know, doing crazy things like going swimming on the horses. And yeah, it's a very common thing actually, like to take our horses into like a really big dam of water and just swim on them.
Wow.
Horses can swim, but it's like riding a dolphin.
Okay.
So it's fun. Like you get to see all of these things on that page, you know, the falls, the fails, the laughs, the tears. It's very real. I mean, it's also mainly when we're at competitions, so you get to see like our vibe and like what we're doing really at competitions. Because as much as it's serious, it also needs to be fun. Not everything is so strict and so serious. You need to also remember to have fun with what you're doing, you know, enjoy what you're doing.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Notulu. It's such an amazing journey. We hope young viewers out there get inspired and get going, get brave. Thank you so much. Well, dear viewers, this afternoon would actually go on and on. It's such an interesting story from Notulu Mwenda, the young horse rider this afternoon, who joined us on Visionary Corner to just give us a story how she kick-started that particular journey as a young girl, 10 years and going on forward. It's been an amazing journey. I believe our young girls out there, young boys want to become horse riders like her. Please do so and get following her on the socials to ensure that you get more and more inspired and get going like she did as well. I've been your host, Doreen Kabamba, but more is coming up. Extraordinary stories on Visionary Corner right here on Millennium TV, always live on Facebook. Millennium TV Zambia, Top Star Channel 95 is the decoder, where you catch us every Monday, 16 hours. Same time, Monday, 16 hours. I repeat myself. But for now, from me, it's bye-bye and stay tuned to Millennium TV.